The last time Wales beat the All Blacks was 1953. That game was broadcast in black and white. It wasn't even broadcast, right? They were just highlight reels put together and shown in cinemas because they didn't really have like the capability to broadcast live rugby matches at the time, right?
Ken Jones
punts across the field where Ken Jones is ready and waiting.
Clem Thomas, what a kick by the flanker.
Thomas, one of the all-time great crossfield kicks that was worked on in training as a pre-called move, and Ken Jones scores off it under the post. A glorious touchdown that gave Wales a solid lead in the last 5 minutes of the match.
Yes.
The last time Wales beat the All Blacks, in black and white, you had to, if you wanted to see it, go to the cinema and you play on a newsreel beforehand if you wanted to see the Ken Jones winning try. Now you can go to YouTube and just type it in, where the version that comes up is a version I uploaded when I was about 13 on YouTube.
Oh, nice.
So there you go. That is a separate thing. That's a separate rabbit hole. I don't recommend anyone going down it. That game was broadcast in black and white. This would be, if Wales win, they were waiting this long for Wales to win a game again, so they could broadcast it in colour, so you can properly capture the majesty of Harry Deavs's cap. His bright yellow scrum cap.
Importantly, none of the games in the 70-plus years that have taken place since then, none of those games have had Harry Deavs take part in it. So this will be the first one to have him. So basically, Wales are nailed on to win. Is that right?
About 18 months ago, I think the last All Black from that team that lost to Wales died. So I think everyone involved, there is no All Black alive who has lost to Wales.
Oh, wow.
So it's a really rare situation. Obviously, it's not like Scotland where it's literally never happened, or Ireland if you go back a decade. Wales have beaten the All Blacks, and they did it quite a few times between 1905 when they first played and Wales won that first game between them, and then 1953. It was quite a great rivalry. It happened a lot through to like the 70s. And then since then, it's been one-way domination for about 50 years. Like, it's been very one-sided. And there have been a few games where Wales have come close. You think about 2009, where, the famous Hacker standoff, and Wales in the end, Alan Wynne-Jones makes an intercept, and if you could have got the pass into Tom Shanklin, maybe Shanklin goes and Wales equalise, who knows. There was one in, I think, 2002 where Wales lost by 2 points. You had the famous game in 2003 in the World Cup where Wales got ahead with like 20 minutes to go and then lost by a heavy margin.
Got Talupe Faletau's try, and I want to say like
2017?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, no, there's been a few good games, but also for every one of those, there's been one where the All Blacks completely dominate Wales.
There's been 3 or 4. Where the All Blacks win by 30-40. And this is the weakest Welsh team since at least the 90s. However, there is a kind of rebuilding sense. I honestly feel like in the last 24 hours, I've started to feel a bit of like the mood shift almost. I think it helps the W haven't put a press release in like 24 hours. And I fully expect like an hour before kickoff they'll announce they're going to shoot the full 20 squad in the face. And they'll just go like, right, okay, you've ruined the vibe. But there is a big change coming in Welsh rugby right now, which is this team selection, and I think it has fired a lot of people up. So, for any Kiwis watching, right, Wales have not been good at all the last few years. However, 2 things happened in quick succession. One was David Jenkins, the second row, said, I think we're going to beat the All Blacks at the weekend.
You've got to say that, though.
It's an
you
insane
can't
thing
say
to say.
we're going
it
to
sounds
lose.
insane.
Yeah.
Because by all logic, if you play this on paper, New Zealand win by 50 points. And Dav Jenkins said, I was trying to explain to my mates who don't play, aren't part of the squad. And they all thought I sounded mad, but I'm like, no, I'm confident we're going to win this weekend.
Good for him.
That's it,
It's the mentality you need to play international rugby.
Yeah.
Even though we, as people who watch the games on our sofas, think that is an insane thing to say.
It sounds insane.
Yeah,
but
it
also,
does.
right, I realised I've never heard a Welsh player say that. I've heard them say I've heard them be asked by a journalist, is the best time to beat the All Blacks if you've got a good chance to beat them, and they go, we're always confident. I've never heard a Welsh player say, I think we're going to win this weekend, and I like that, even though this is the worst Welsh team since the 90s.
I'll have you know, Wales are on a one-game winning streak, and the All Blacks are on a one-game losing streak. So
we're on a
you can't argue with
you can't argue with form.
Yeah.
The other thing is Wales named their team. And in comes Harry Deavs at 7. And for any Kiwis watching, right, Harry Deavs is the greatest player of all time. He's sort of, I think, the equivalent in Kiwi rugby, maybe Marty Banks. He is the great cult hero of modern Welsh rugby, I think.
He's a great story, isn't he? Yeah. He's very well liked at the Ospreys. He is a proper Brexit player in that he will just put his head where it hurts every week. He will just carry on running. There's no subtlety to his game at all. He will just hit every ruck and hit anything that moves, that goes past him. And he is probably, with all respect to Harry Deavs, because he is a brilliant player and also a lovely bloke, as it happens, he is he probably will have had certain points in his career where he won't have thought he was going to get the chance to play for Wales.
Alex Cuthbert, who played for the Ospreys and now obviously retired in the pundit, said this, obviously when he was playing with Deavesy, Deave said to him once, like, I know I'll never play for Wales. And now he's got this opportunity against the All Blacks.
At home in the Principality, in front of all his fans and his mates. Like, that is incredible.
And look, as someone who loves Harry Deaves, obviously, you know, I've met him a number of times. I've interviewed him twice. I think he was on the channel doing the rugby. No, what was it we played? The Mario Rugby with him. He was on there. You know, he was on the Squid Rugby live show we did. Well, this is the other side, right? It's like Steve Tandy brought up that obviously, like, he is the hardest worker. Right, there is no one in regional rugby. I think he might be the form player in Wales this season so far, and he is like quite small for an international flanker.
Yeah.
However, he said himself. He phrased this himself as like, no, it's the size of my heart that counts, and he will play like he will give everything. No one works harder than him, and I kind of think it's smart in this Wales team who are going to be outgunned anyway to pick the guy who will work the hardest, who will give absolutely everything.
Who will bring energy and passion to the team. Like, whenever something goes well for Wales, he will roar. It reminds me of when Josh Navidi got his second cap.
That's it. That's the thing I was thinking as well.
Like, he'd had to wait 6 odd years since his first cap against Japan, had to assign himself to being a one-cap wonder who deserved way better than that. Yeah. And obviously thanks to our mum who kept reminding Warren Gatland through the
regular
television,
emails.
That he should be picking Josh Navidi because he works really hard. He then came in and brought loads of energy against the mighty All Blacks.
Went on to become a Lion.
Yeah.
Off the back, and that all began in that one game. We had the game of his life against the All Blacks, and managed to keep things much closer than Wales were expected to be blown away. And kind of they were in the end.
It's an inspired pick.
I really like it as a selection of just like setting a template because no one worked hard on him. Yeah. And he'll absolutely fling it forward.
And obviously, Ardy Sarvi has seen him named on the team sheet and gone, I don't fancy playing this weekend. And that's the only reason, rather than... It's nothing to do with the fact the All Blacks are insanely better than Wales to such a degree they can put out virtually their second team and still win handsomely by probably about 50 points. It's nothing to do with that.
Likewise, Bowden running scared of Dan Eds. Can't face him.
Quincy Pye didn't like the look of Joe Hawkins. Cody Taylor's seen Brodie Coughlin on the bench and gone, nah, I'm not having any of that.
No, not for me.
There's a lot of players want days off. And it's nothing to do with the fact that they've played loads of rugby this year and they've been brilliant and been the All Blacks' most consistent and outstanding players and played a world-class standard of rugby, which is way better than any Welsh player physically could. It's nothing to do with any of that.
But right, I think the other thing about the Harry Deaves thing is he's an incredibly smart rugby brain as well that I think like gets lost in the fact that he is, as you said, like quite Brexit in the way that he plays the game, that he is just like head down, I will work hard, I'll smash everything in front of me, I'll carry the ball as hard as I can. It's the thing Steve Tandy's mentioned, right? It's a big part of this election was he has spent more hours on the laptop learning every Wales call, every play, learning everything, putting in the work on the All Blacks, putting in the work on the team themselves, and like really studying the game. And when he was on the Squid Rugby live thing we did in Swansea a few months back, he brought up like a few stats that I was like, oh wow, like things I'd never heard, never considered, you know, about how like if there is a ruck within, you know, like if you make a line break and then there's a ruck, your chance of scoring goes down by 60%. Like was something he raised himself and was like, you know, these are all, like brought up a number of stats like that. And it's like clearly he understands the game inside out. And he's very, you know, like clued into it. He's obviously said a number of times like Justin Tipperic's his all-time hero and he loves him more than anything. And you can see some of that in the way he plays his game beyond the fact that he is naturally like a, you know, incredibly hard worker. I love Harry Deaves so much. Like he is the guy. I'm so excited by him coming into the team. I think this Welsh team kind of captures something, which is they have picked players who will go out there to outwork the All Blacks. And for me, that has always been the identity of Welsh rugby. Is like there will be other teams like New Zealand who may be more skillful, or there may be teams like South Africa and France and England and whoever who are bigger and more physical, but no one outworks Wales. And Steve Tandy feels like there was kind of play he was, and he's named a team that will live up to that identity and play to that style. And it's less kind of flair than we've seen. Perhaps I think Matt Sherratt had quite a big hand in selection over the first couple of weeks because we saw a lot of his kind of like very trusted players for Cardiff, like Ben Thomas in there. And it feels like kind of Tandy's reverted back to the more kind of like, you know, Ospreys region style that he's come, obviously, you know, from Bridgend, as a player himself. It feels like he's kind of reverted back to that style of play, to that kind of like approach of we're just going to work incredibly hard. We know if it becomes a skillful contest, we don't stand a chance. So we will reduce it to being a dogfight, which is where we stand a chance.
Yeah, I like that. And We'll talk about the All Blacks in a moment and their selection and
of
so on.
course.
But with Wales, I think the objective isn't to win the game necessarily. Obviously, you go into any game hoping to win it. But if Wales can give the All Blacks a 50-minute fight, that would be brilliant. I'd be chuffed with that because that is more than potentially they deserve.
Yeah.
The Springboks in a week's time will potentially be a bit more one-sided. It's one of those where Wales might struggle to keep up fitness-wise and strength-wise and all sorts.
It's physicality. It's pure physicality. Yeah,
exactly. Whereas in this, they want to keep up with them. They want to test them. They want this to be a proper test match, and that's what it is. Look at a couple of the other changes. So Rhys Carey coming in at loosehead prop. Not entirely sure what's happened with Nicky Smith, whether he's been rotated out or there's an injury there. Ollie Cracknell.
There's no news of an injury.
Yeah, Ollie Cracknell's injured his hamstring, so he's out.
Yeah.
Meaning they have brought in
Harry Deaves.
Harry Deaves at 7, and they moved Aaron Wainwright to number 8 with Alex Mann playing 6.
Wainwright is struggling from an injury. If he pulls out, then Tame Plumtree coming at 8. And Morgan Morse will come in for his debut on the bench.
Yeah, if that happens, I'd love to see Morgan Morse versus Christian Leah-Willie as a
that'd be
matchup.
Fun.
Both very similar players and very driven, and I'm quite excited to see that
people haven't been
possibility.
following Morgan Morse, possibly the best prospect Wales has at the minute.
He's young and talented and big.
Yeah, big lad, incredibly quick, number 8. Just scores some great outstanding tries. Sometimes has a habit of fading out of games, but I think maybe he is at this stage of his career best used as an impact sub.
Yeah.
But has had some great performances this season. Looks like he's ready to play international rugby now in a way. Perhaps I think he maybe wasn't even at the Six Nations. He's really developed over the course of this year.
Yeah.
And for better for having a proper pre-season where instead of being with the under-20s. So still 20 years old, still absurdly young. But a really good prospect who's got a decent number of regional games under his belt.
Yeah, so back to Rhys Carey.
Yes.
So in for not only his carrying game, but Steve Tandy has said that his impact at the maul is a big thing. So that tells you a lot about how Wales want to play this game. Is a little bit more up the jumper, as you say. If you start to look and play an open game, you're playing New Zealand's game at that point, and you don't want to fall into that. So I like that, the selection of Rhys Carey there. In the back division, Tom Rogers on the wing, great pick, because as much as there may be better players than him, he is, by what Steve Tandy said, incredibly hardworking. Steve Tandy said that he responded really well to getting dropped and he's worked really hard to get back in the team. But above all, he can actually catch a ball.
Yeah.
And that is ultimately the criteria you need to get picked in this Wales back three at the moment. And aerially, he's looked really good for Wales in the last 12 months, and they've really lacked in that area. Yeah. I'm still very concerned about Blair Murray at the back.
Yes, that is the real concern. It's kind of the red flag in this team.
A name Kiwi fans may be familiar with, played New Zealand under-20s, of course.
Yeah, got I think one game for the Crusaders.
Yeah. And got straight into the Welsh national team as their starting fullback.
Yeah, and is a great player with the ball in hand, but is absolutely awful at getting it into those hands.
Yeah.
Is terrible under the high ball, and yet Wales are persisting with him. The other option in the squad is Jacob Beetham, who has been left out, the Cardiff fullback, who has been, I think, because Wales have two really outstanding young fullback options in him and Cam Winnett, Beetham and Cam Winnett, both of them are at Cardiff, so they've both kind of taken game time off each other. Beetham's ended up playing some 13, some 10, on the wing as well. He only has the one cap to his name so far, so I guess they didn't want to chuck him in alongside a debutant on the flank. And still, Dan Edwards is still very early in his career at 10.
Yeah.
So you want some extra options. He's mentioned Joe Hawkins also comes in at 12.
Yeah.
Finally back into the team after being, left out when he went to Exeter a couple of years ago, gets his first cap in a few years. Looked like the future of Welsh rugby at that point.
Was very hyped up, wasn't
difficult, and we were partly responsible for
Absolutely.
because I really saw a proper international player there.
He's a big boy and a ball player, and I like that.
He's a proper he's played a couple of games at 10 for the Scarlets so far this season, and Wallace haven't gone particularly well. They were nilled by the Scarlets, by the Stormers rather. He still has the skill set to play 10. I think he is a 12, but he has that skill set.
He's our attempt to do Geordie Barrett, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
As close as we can get to
Barrett.
Wales. Yeah. I do wonder if they maybe defensively swap Tom Rogers and Blair Murray, so Tom Rogers takes more responsibility in the backfield.
I think they've got to.
That might be necessary because otherwise the All Blacks will find it very easy to get into this game. So looking at their team selection, Damien McKenzie comes in at number 10. Again, incredibly experienced, is mainly known for his running game and his flashy tricks he's bollocks that he gets up to whenever he gets the ball. A brilliant player to watch. Everybody loves watching him. We saw how good he was against Scotland. And that's the thing. If you switch off against Damien McKenzie for a moment in the backfield, he will punish you. He has such a range of kicks, whether it is going for those 50-22s like he did against Scotland. Also, with Ruben Love at the back, they have two options that they can like alter between. So in a way, you don't lose anything because you have Damien McKenzie playing the role Beauden Barrett previously played and Ruben Love playing the role that Damien McKenzie's previously played.
Do you want a stat?
Go on.
When DMAC is at 10 rather than Beauden Barrett, the All Blacks go around 3 to 4 phases more before kicking the ball.
Right, okay.
So I think that is less a game plan thing and more just a personal preference, from that 10.
Damien McKenzie wants the ball in his hands all the time. Because, again, I mean, you can say the same about Beauden Barrett. Beauden Barrett probably kicks slightly more than DMAC.
He does, yeah.
But DMAC likes to look for those half gaps and see if he can get forwards running off him and really punch holes. He, really challenges the line.
And honestly, I think this is kind of I'm not expecting Wales to win this game by any stretch, right?
No. But
I think I kind of expect this to be almost a waking up performance. I'm kind of this could be the game where Wales give someone a game, for an hour, and then they probably get crushed by the Springboks in a week's time, but that's fine. But I think there's a chance here, and partly DMAC coming in at 10 may lead to the last 15 minutes being a bit of a blowout and really New Zealand getting on top and pulling away there. But if the All Blacks are kicking less ball, and they also critically have rested Cam Roigard, who is one of the best kicking nines on the planet, you know, aside from Dupont and maybe Maxime Luke, I think's up there as well. There's a few around there. Alex Mitchell's come on and all. I could keep going on and on and on, but I think Roigard's
Roigard has the biggest range of kicks, whether it's the wipers or the other than Dupont.
Humans,
whether it's contestable or kicking for length. He is absolutely world class.
Has an enormous boot, so good at getting height on it, so good putting it long.
And he's not playing.
Yeah. One, again, you look at Twickenham and how much less they kicked once Cortes Rattimer came on. And Roigard was consistently keeping him in the kicking game, and then they kicked much less when Rattimer came on.
Yeah.
And
Rattimer's more of a contestable kicker rather than a kicker for length. So that's quite an interesting one. So they'll probably...
But equally, he was hanging less contestables.
Yeah. I'd imagine this will be different in this game,
Yeah.
where he's starting, and obviously Wales have no backfield, essentially.
Yeah.
But you would imagine they will pin the contestables on Rattimer and the longer kicks on Love and McKenzie between the two of them. Obviously, as well, McKenzie is most likely going to do 80 minutes because Love, starting at fullback, is the 10 cover when they've gone with Fainga'anuku on the bench in that 22 jersey.
I just am intrigued by... This is an All Blacks team that's set up to kick less. And it's interesting because generally you think, right, when you're playing the weaker team, you keep more ball in hand because you can wear them down. I think Wales' defence is the one thing I'd be fairly confident that they'll be right in. It's the one thing I think has gone well so far. And obviously they conceded 50 against Argentina, but that was largely because their backfield cover was so bad.
Yeah.
So if you are able to kick endlessly and generate endless possession in the 22, right, if Wales withstand you, for 5 straight minutes then concede, and then you can instantly get back down there again, right? Both things can be true, that you concede 50 points and have a good defence, if it's taking you a long time to concede, right, but then it's way too easy to get into your 22, the issue isn't the defence. The issue is the fact that Wales are so bad at fielding kicks at the minute.
Yeah.
And New Zealand picking a team that is set up to run, I think, is interesting because you probably wanted to go the other way around if you're looking at this Welsh team. However, I think the All Blacks have picked a team purely on themselves.
Yeah.
I don't think they've picked looking at all at what Wales are offering. No. And I think that's fine because it should be good enough to win anyway.
And they will want to play this on their terms, and they're good enough that will be the case. The other fry in this, of course, is Will Jordan playing on the wing.
Yes.
Both in terms of aerially, he's world class.
Yeah.
And B, I kind of prefer him as a winger to as a fullback.
Me too.
Just because it gives him that licence to play make a little bit more. Because when he's playing fullback, he often has to be a part of moves and set plays and shapes. And that's great because he is very adaptable and that kind of player who can change his lines all the time. Whereas on the wing, he just completely roams around the pitch and does what he wants, like a little kid playing rugby.
I want to add a caveat to Will Jordan being world class in the air.
Yeah.
Obviously, he is a world class player, right? I think he's absolutely world class at chasing kicks.
Yeah.
I think he's very good at receiving kicks, right? And he is notably worse at taking balls on the full when he's the fullback who's having kicks hung on him, right? So there's less opportunity to do that, but you still get the best out of him, which is him chasing and managing to win tap backs and stuff. I think he's really good at that, and there's a real chance for him to get after Blair Murray here.
Yeah. Number one priority, I would say, for the All Blacks.
Critically, also, like, Will Jordan played more than one game for the Crusaders.
That's
like,
also true.
Like, he was the guy keeping Blair Murray out the team and not letting him even get a look in by the coaches.
Yeah, Blair Murray was holding tackle bags
And, like,
for Will Jordan.
there's a decent chance, right? Will Jordan has won these against Blair Murray in the past in training.
Yeah, might
Murray
know
was
a few more weaknesses of his. Yeah, again, number one priority, I think, for the All Blacks.
Though he also might not remember his name.
Yes, will be set piece.
Yeah, sorry, yes.
Yeah, the scrum, you would expect the All Blacks to dominate.
Yeah.
Tamaiti Williams coming in at loose head, again, is one of the strongest players in international rugby at the moment. You would imagine he will be eyeing up Kieran Atarati and like going to absolutely put him on roller skates.
And Rhys Carre, obviously great carrier. Tandy brought up his work at the Mall. Not a great scrummager. Historically, struggles a bit in the scrum, and also not the fittest player in the world.
Yeah.
You probably need to replace him quite early on. It's why I think Gareth Thomas coming in on the bench is probably quite a smart move. For one front, like Wales are playing South Africa next week, and none of the English-based players will be available, so that's both Carey and Nicky Smith will be gone, so you want your starting loosehead to get some minutes in.
Yeah.
Considering Danny South will probably come in on the bench, and he's on a cap, so you probably want Garton playing most of the game. But also, great defensive player, Garton, like incredibly high tackle count for a prop, so you wouldn't be getting that focus on, but also a decent scrummager. Where I think the All Blacks should be able to get on top early on, and it may be second half, like I think the battle between the props on the bench is more even, where I think it should be pretty one-sided, the scrum pretty early
The
on.
All Blacks really need to take the chances at scrum time early days.
Yeah.
Because you should expect, as All Blacks fans, you should expect to be winning scrum penalties on your own ball 90% of the time, and to be giving Wales concerns on their ball, if not stealing them. So that's an area of strength for the All Blacks for sure.
The line-out's an interesting one, right? Because you don't necessarily look at this All Blacks team and gone, they've done a brilliant job of disrupting the line-out over this tour. And yet, Ireland's line-out against them, dog shit. England's line-out against them, dog shit. Scotland's line-out faltered a lot, right? 3 weeks in a row, we've seen the opposition have their worst line-out game in a long time against this team without necessarily you seeing them getting up and slapping a lot of ball backs and winning them. They got a few against England, obviously. But generally, right, I think a lot of it's probably they're doing some shit of like putting people up at the front and missing it and then things going over the top. A lot of the time it's felt like the line-out's just misfired, like teams haven't communicated, they haven't got the lift right. And I assume there's something on with the All Blacks that we haven't spotted yet. You know, of them like, they got one pinged at the weekend where we saw a very subtle like nudge on, like an England lifter that got penalised. And I wonder if there's a little bit of that going on from the All Blacks, because generally the line-out has misfired with the opposition every game. Yeah. And Wales' line-out has been very up and down so far. It's gone generally pretty well, but you've had a couple of like missed throws and so on going on. So we'll see. But like I'm intrigued by that as well as a theme, because if it happens 4 games in a week, then this can't be a coincidence.
Yeah, that's pretty huge because Adam Beard is solely in this Welsh team to
win the line-out,
operate the line-out. And that's basically, he might as well walk between line-outs, because he's that kind of player. That is his area of strength. But with the All Blacks, they've got in Fabian Holland in the second row alongside Scott Barrett, 2 absolute brutes in there. And as you say, like you expect them to be disrupting and to be really like solid on their own ball. They've also got Josh Lord on the bench, who I think has been phenomenal this autumn.
Josh Lord's one of those players that I think people assume for some reason isn't very good. And I'm like, but look at the evidence in front of us.
Yeah. Every game this autumn, he's been outstanding. I've been so impressed with him. He's on the bench to come on.
Yeah.
So, and also like in the back row, I think someone who really deserves opportunity is Duplessis Karifi.
Yes.
He was always used as an impact sub by Scott Robertson. He really works in that role because sheer physicality is what he brings on. Like he loves to blast those breakdowns and just make huge hits coming off the line. He's a bit of a destructive ball carrier. He's one of those, he'll either make you 1 metre or he'll make like 20 in one go because he just loves to shrug tacklers off. He doesn't accept tackles. Yeah. I really like watching him play, but he's not had that many opportunities in a starting jersey, so that's really exciting. Yeah. Him playing against Harry Deavs will be such a battle, because we spoke for ages about what Deavs is like as a personality, and you would imagine if he is going to bring energy and physicality, Karifi will more than match it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if the All Blacks are smart, they should be completely outside by half-time.
Yeah. They need to be patient, though. They need to be patient. They won't score every time, but you've got to treat Wales like a good opposition.
That's it.
And you've got to get into their half, find a set piece, and find a way to get over that line.
Right. The way I feel this is going to go, I think about that game between Italy and the All Blacks last year, right? And if the All Blacks treat Wales like a good team and they play the tactics they would against, if hypothetically they were playing France or they were playing Ireland again, or they were even playing England, a rematch, they will win this by 30 plus points.
Yeah.
Right? If they take this as we're going to win this game by 30 plus points, and they try and be more ambitious and they try and keep hold of the ball a bit more.
Yeah,
Go to
experimental.
More, yeah, experiment a bit more. Try and be like over exuberant. I think they may be in a game at 60 minutes, and I still think they'll go on a win.
Of course.
But like, you know, I think this game may be more interesting if the All Blacks aren't smart about it. You know, I think they've got to be like really disciplined tactically, and obviously disciplined, you know, penalty-wise as well, because that's been something that Wales have not been great on the last few months.
Whereas the All Blacks have. You know, they didn't concede a single penalty in the first half against England.
And if they can keep that up, they won't give Wales away into the game.
Yeah.
And they can, even if they are playing with that kind of like over-exuberance, to use that phrase again, I still think there should be enough that they're disciplined, both tactically and penalty-wise.
Yeah. As a Wales fan,
this.
I'm really excited by this game because Wales should not be on the same planet as this All Blacks team. Like, they shouldn't be pitted together. They're not in the same league. However, it's an opportunity to go at them and see what's possible. And again, like, neither of us expect Wales to come close to winning this game, and that's okay. But again, like, as a rugby fan, I'm really excited to see how the All Blacks adapt after a loss at Twickenham.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I really hope from their perspective, from an All Blacks fan, that they do lean into, as you say, like kicking it down the line a lot more and seeing if they can force Wales to make those errors in their half, so we can see the All Blacks do what they do best from a range of about 20 metres out, rather than trying that a bit further out. And I think that is a case of, let's find set pieces, let's be sensible, let's give ourselves as many opportunities to score tries as we physically can, and those opportunities will come. Like, those moments will come. They will score tries, and it's just not forcing it.
From a Welsh point of view, I think this is a great opportunity because there is no expectation on the result, right? Where I think going into the Argentina game, you had a little bit of like, yeah, we could give them a game. You know, they're not number 1 or 2 in the world. We could potentially see how we go with this. And then when they lost by 50, you're kind of like, oh, you know, I thought we could maybe keep it to 35 this week.
Yeah.
Where then Japan was like that absolute must-win pressure game that we talked about. This game is the game with the lowest expectation on it, I think. It's kind of the most exciting game because South Africa will physically pulverise you. New Zealand, this team is not the physical pack that the South African pack is, right? And so there is a chance to play a bit, to try and disrupt them, and try and like birth something in what will inevitably probably end up being a defeat. But like, what if it isn't? You know? Yeah. What if you can target this? Like, Wales haven't beaten the All Blacks since 1953. Like, this is a huge game on that front because you have no choice but to make a statement with every result. Like, Wales beat South Africa 3 years ago, like, which is insane when you think about it. But like 2022 was the last time Wales beat South Africa. Like, they beat South Africa. They can do that. They know how to do that. There are plenty of players in this team who have gone out there and beaten the Springboks, some of them multiple times.
Yeah.
Where, I don't know, for like... Yeah, where for the, you know, there's no one alive who has beaten. I don't think there's any Welsh players alive who've beaten the All Blacks. There's no All Blacks alive who've lost to Wales.
Yeah.
So it's a very different prospect. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm genuinely excited about this game.
And I just, again, like, and this is my Welsh heart coming to this. Just want to say, like, they're obviously not fucking watching this, but like a huge just good luck to both Harry-Deavsed and Brodie Coughlin.
Yes,
I just really hope they go out there
absolutely.
and enjoy it. This is the absolute dream against the mighty All Blacks at the Principality. They've both really earned this.
Yeah.
Brodie Coughlin were barely talked about.
Yeah.
Very much the same
What
story as
opportunity for him,
Harry-Deavsed. And he will give absolutely everything.
Just
So
really grasped
buzzing
it
for
and
those
earned
lads.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so just those lads, I mean, if any of their mates are watching or anything like that, just I hope they all enjoy it and the families all enjoy it, because what an opportunity and what a day for them and their families.
Mate, Deavsy's playing the All Blacks. We've never been more back.